with Dan Bell a little bit. I do a little bit of his like prehab and rehab, right? And you're talking about Dan has the highest, total all time in, raw with sleeves, raw with wraps. And what I did with Dan was I made him start doing prehab. I made him start doing TKEs and banded hamstring curls and hip circle walks and banded tricep extensions and stuff that everybody on here sounds really basic. And you're talking about a guy who's literally the strongest person of all time within his category. He wasn't even doing that stuff. He was just squat benching and deadlifting. You know what I mean? And so and he was like, oh, I feel so much better. I feel so much better. And it's like, yeah, of course you do. But I think that's where it's on us as ambassadors and people who understand, what it really takes to keep pushing it forward in that way.
There's a kid in my gym. He's probably early 20s, early 20s, you think you know everything and you can do straight weight all the time. He comes in every Friday night to pull straight weight only, and his hip was starting to bother him. He's like, oh, I'm getting weaker, I'm getting old. And I'm like, you just need a variation. Like, step one, stop fucking maxing out every Friday night. 2, stop using straight weight every Friday night and change some shit up. And he just won't do it. I think my deadlift is 50 pounds less than his, and he's like 24, 25. I'm 43. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
And you probably feel better than him too. That's
yeah, I'm not sore. I mean, I'm sore, but I'm not like I can walk. He's broken, But he doesn't listen. He tried to help me.
Hey, Khalil, can you hear me yet?
Yeah, Henry, we can hear you.
All right,
can you hear us?
This is Henri.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. You see me now too?
You just turn the camera off.
Yeah, you keep turning it on and off. I keep seeing you. When you have two Henri Skibas that I let it. I don't know why.
Okay, I dropped one, right? What happened was you
dropped the one that had the video though. Now you're on the one that we can't see you. Just turn in your bottom left. I think it should show a little X through the camera. Just tap it so it comes back on.
Hey Al, can you put the code in here, please? I'll be up in a minute, guys. I apologize. It gave me some kind of basically what it said. I had some kind of parental control. I'm 64 and I got to have parental control. I'll get back to you guys in a minute.
All right.
I showed you on the media. All right, here we go. Let's see. Al, can you put this ID meeting? It's right here. There you go.
Oh, no.
Well, what I was going to say is, like, with this guy in your gym, if he keeps lifting long enough, he'll start using variations in bands and chains. I was when I was in
comes
LA,
that safety bar
6 years ago, like Barbell Brigade was starting to become a kind of a trendy gym for this like newer age of like raw powerlifting, and like Steve Gentili was in there, and like Hulk Smash and huge Asian guy, like all these guys who were, Tiapapula was in there, like all these guys who were smashing the raw, kind of bigger records, and they were all straight bar. And then you watch them over the last few years, you start seeing deficits, you start seeing slingshots, you start seeing board presses because you get beat up. It's like Louie said, right? Like, you have to find answers. Like, you have to find it. And I think a lot of people, they just don't find it until they have to find it. That's the problem.
When they want to keep going and they can't because it hurts too much. And then they're like, okay. But he watches, there's so many conjugate lifters there. He watches us and he's like, oh, that's dumb. Oh, that's dumb. You must be on drugs. That's dumb. And we're all like, what's wrong with you? Like, just come to the dark side. But it's the USAPL attitude that really get me going on that. It's that USAPL attitude where they're, can't possibly do conjugate or USAPL.
They're too fucking self-righteous.
I can't stand it.
They don't even use a deadlift bar. What the hell is that shit?
I know. Why
I don't understand.
Now you see me, right?
Yeah, we see you
now. Yes. Now don't put shit on that damn computer. Just leave it like that.
Listen, guys, when I hear about that USPAL, man, I'm going to roll for a while on that, baby. They hate us. They hate Westside. I hope you guys don't mind. You mind if I jump in for a second and jump on this?
Please.
Yeah, go.
All right. I'll never forget years ago when I walked in the USPAL meet and I came in with my Westside sneakers, Westside shirt on, and one of the bravest guys over there said, oh, this guy's a Westside guy. He must be on drugs. They can't fathom possibly lifting the weights that we lift or train like we do without without using steroids or so forth. They don't realize there's so many things with restoration and the way we wave and everything else that makes up for so many things like that.
And the strong tendons, the strong joints, just the way that we train and the accessories we do and the volume we do and how we do the volume, like that builds up your tendons, just your joints, your muscles, everything gets pumped and that restores everything. And they just can't wrap their heads around it. Drives me bananas.
Throwing something else at you too. Like one of the things that people don't realize, it takes a while to build up to that volume and so forth, especially because the first time I started doing because I go back 35 years with this. And one of the things that Louie taught us in the beginning when we started doing dragging, we all wanted to include dragging. And with our mentalities, the first thing we did, we started dragging once a week. And all of a sudden, by 3 weeks, we were driving in 5 days, dragging in a week. And he said, no, what you do is in order to increase and to get up to that volume, is you just add little by little. You're building like it's a domino. It's like an effect when you're building a Jenga thing. You don't just simply throw all the things at once. You simply add piece by piece. And that's what makes the conjugate system work so well.
Yep. 100%. Yep.
Man, I wish I knew you guys. You guys were closer, man. You would love our little place up here. So,
where are you?
Where are you at?
I'm in it's in Conneaut, New Jersey. It's right by Newark Airport. And I'm so happy to get involved that Khalil actually invited me to get in with you guys, because I lived this my whole life. And I know I go back to the beginning of powerlifting when nobody knew what powerlifting was. Like I said, I was a powerlifter. People had no idea what the hell. Oh, you're an Olympic lifter. No, I'm not an Olympic lifter. I'm doing a whole different thing. And so I go that far back, and it really makes me happy to see everybody involved. And one of my biggest pushes is I do a lot of things. I run a lot of meets for women. I run a program called Women of Power that is basically just pulling women in, because I really believe in that. I mean, getting everybody involved. It does so much for our enhancement of our strength and also our psychological strength and so forth.
I'm a 43-year-old cancer survivor. I'm squatting over 300. 43.
That's fantastic, man.
Benching 200.
Man, I'll
pulling over 400 at 43. And I almost died. It was a very long 5-year battle. And conjugate has been, it changed my entire life. My training partner, Mike Lanty, introduced me to conjugate. Changed my whole life.
And you know what? You see, listen. Your training partners who? Okay.
Mike Galanti, do you know who that is? He's been in the game like 25 years.
Okay.
He's been around forever. We're in Boston, greater Boston area.
Oh, Boston. Okay. I got a good friend of mine, Josh. You know Josh? Big Josh. He's I forgot what his last name is. A big powerlifter right by the Boston area. There's a lot of guys, and I actually used to run around in the New England area for a while in New Hampshire, but that used to be real bigger powerlifters, but it's not like it is anymore, I don't think.
It's coming back though. Anthony's doing APF up there now.
Anthony who? Oliviera?
Oliviera, yeah. He just became the New Hampshire chair.
Oh, okay. And is this gym in Connecticut?
No, they just bought a gym in New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. Okay, that's where it was. Okay.
That's why you run.
He's a good dude.
Yeah.
Who, Anthony?
Yeah, I like Anthony.
Yeah.
Good lifter too. Real good lifter.
Yeah, he's got some numbers.
Just a few. 1,100 pound squat.
Yeah.
I like his gear though. His like his shirts and stuff. I got some of his shirts. His stuff is nice. Everything with like the Grim Reaper and stuff on it. Yeah, it's good.
Stay hated.
It's good. Stay hated. Stay hated is such a good one.
Do you think it's gonna make it back? There he is.
You said what?
Kinda. Henri, is he back?
I'm back. Yeah, I haven't left.
I'm back.
It seems like
your internet keeps cutting out.
Back and forth.
Do me a favor. Everybody just go around and just tell me how Louie and Westside just, impacted your life and, positively, career-wise, all that stuff. Rachel, you want to go first?
Oh, geez. No pressure.
Well, I can see you. That's why.
Especially since this tape rate is going to be all over.
Ladies first, I guess.
No pressure.
For me, Louie in the conjugate system, I've been running conjugate since 2018. And my meet in 2018, I squatted 175. I think I benched 95 pounds and pulled 280. And 3 years later, I'm 300, 200, 400.
That's
just
fantastic,
3 years
man.
at 43. So we went out to go
You're a
train
puppy at 43. You kidding me,
Yeah.
man?
I know.
I think powerlifters don't get stronger till later, man. I'm telling you right now.
My 40s, like I think you're strongest in your 40s, honestly.
Yeah.
We went out to Westside last February. We went out for a weekend, and I was terrified, by the way. We were 4 a.m. we're in the parking lot, and Lou's looking at us. My training partner Mike went to go say hi to him, and I was like, I'm just gonna wait till we go inside. I was so scared. And then Louie looked at him and was like, hey, who you got a girl with you? And he was like, yeah. How much you squat? 3? Okay. So we go inside and he's staring at me, and I was like, hi, thanks for letting us, be at your gym. And he ended up being the nicest person ever. And he saw, I had technical issues.
Oh my God.
In the squat that he just wanted to, he was like the most welcoming human, not at all what I expected from him. He was just so welcoming, and so he was watching me deadlift, and I finished deadlifting, and he was, waiting to go out to breakfast with us. And he goes, you have a big pull for a big person. And he goes, don't be offended though. I was like, I'm not offended. There's a lot to put down the hole. It's fine. I got tiny arms. And then we just started talking about everything, and trying to figure out why he hated the slingshot, which put him on a rant. He was pretty pissed about that. And why he hated the trap bar.
What did he say about the slingshot? I never heard that one.
He's I don't want to repeat it in public. I'll tell you on Instagram.
Maybe it's a Mark.
Well, that's right. True. So that makes sense. Yeah.
There's a little backstory there, I guess, that I don't want to repeat. But yeah, he literally changed my life. And now in my gym, I'm helping a lifter. She's 43. She has been training for a very long time as a bodybuilder, wanted to get stronger, wanted to do a meet. She did her first meet and I think she squatted 275, bench 145, and pulled, I think she was 270 or 280 that day. So she was so close to 300. She had 300 in her at the meet that day, but she had never done a contest before. So now, lifters, there's teenage boys in the gym that come up to me for help. So he's changed the entire strength community within my local gym. And people, message me on Instagram and ask how to use bands and chains. How do I do this? How do I do that? And there's a whole crew. We kind of bounce things off of each other all the time. My training partner, Mike, we bounce things off of each other all the time. He changed everything for me just that one weekend in person.
He is, and all of us, I'm not going to cut it in any time, but I've seen him do things with like little kids and like he used to live, the original Westside was right by a tenement, and they had little kids that absolutely had nothing. And Louie would always go out of his way. They call him Uncle Louie, can we have money for ice cream? Kind of soul. Him, you see people on the streets, I see him go up to people that you wouldn't go up to them. They're like bums or transes, whatever you want to call them. And you see Louie go up to him and just stick a few dollars in the pocket and say, stay warm and get yourself something to eat. I can't say enough about the man. I get choked up when I talk about him.
The kindest soul.
The kindest soul. But in the gym, we talk about him like, rough. I'm going to let you go back to your time, but I'll tell you a story later on when it was my time. So I can tell you about, it's not exactly the same thing when you go train with the boys. My God Almighty! I wanted to run home to Carteret. But Rachel, let me hear more about you.
I just want to finish up with this. We were doing dynamic effort lower, which in our world, Louie's dynamic effort lower is like a max effort for us because it's just insane band tension, just pushing the limits every freaking rep. And we went out to lunch, we went out to breakfast, came back, and the later crew was doing dynamic effort, but they were doing doubles to a box. And I looked over at Lou and I was like, how come we had to do 5s and they're doing doubles? And he goes, because they're lazy. And I was like, cool, call me lazy. I'm going to go back now. I did 5x5s for a year after that. And then I started to get tired. So I went back to doubles. I'll go back and forth. But if you walk around his gym, like his gym is literally his brain just in a physical form. If you walk around, like his brain was all over the fucking place. And you walk around the gym and it's all over the fucking place. And then you look at it, you look at him and you're like, wait a minute, this gym is your brain in real life. That's all it is.
That's excellent. Excellent comparison.
It's true though.
Oh yeah, I know.
Jacob, you want to go next?
Sure. Yeah, I'll go. So my story is a little different because I found Westside through sports performance as opposed to powerlifting. When I was at TCU for undergrad, my professor used to work for Arthur Jones, and he was
Wow.
helping design Nautilus equipment. And so I learned a lot about kind of high intensity training, but it really taught me a lot about intensity. And then when I moved to Chicago to work at EFT, the guy who owned the gym was a Louie follower, a Parisi follower, and a DeFranco follower. And he's from that older school generation. He had the actual handbooks, right? He did in the VHS tapes. And within a year, I was promoted general manager at that place. And I started diving really hard into Louie's writings and to all the podcasts, all the articles, anything I could find, because I wanted to learn. I really thought that everything that I saw from the guy who owned the gym in terms of things he was talking about, they really came from Louie. When you started like looking into it, this is like DeFranco, all this other stuff. It's variations of what Louie did. And so I was like, well, let me go back to the source and just really dive into it. And, basically I changed our gym. We did a max effort, upper lower day. We did a dynamic effort day. We did a reps upper day. And this is for athletes specifically. And I started tweaking those dynamic days to include more sumo pulls, more banded pulls, supersetting stuff with jumps, more sled work, like a lot of stuff that's very Louie, but unless you go back and you understand the world, you didn't know it. And coming out of college, I didn't know it at the time. And as I shifted all that, and again, I was running the gym and I was in charge of programming for all of our big athletes. During my time there, we had nine NFL Pro Bowlers. We had a 2-time NBA All-Star. We had a collegiate athlete in every single national championship in one year: track and field, football, basketball, lacrosse, rowing, like take your pick. And I really attribute all that back to the system that Louie developed. And also, I think his ability to allow you to think for yourself, because some of these people out here say it has to be this, this, and this. And Louie was such into try it. This is the form, this is the structure, but then tweak it. Find what works. Keep pushing, keep trying, keep finding what works. And then I was able to visit Westside in 2018 with a friend of mine, Michael Headley, who trained there for a little bit in the 90s. He was a thrower. And now he has a gym called North State Barbell in Chico, California. But Michael invited me to come out, and we were there for about 4 days. And I can talk, the same as you guys about how kind he was and how giving he was and how much you want to come back to the gym later. And yeah, of course. And, let's go to dinner and just always, it's just such an example for, I think, a lot of us in our world, we kind of get to this thing where we're so busy, and we are, but taking that time to pass on and taking that time to help. And so I really thank Louie for, serving as the basis of my entire career, because I don't think anything that I was able to program would not have existed if it didn't come from him. And certainly none of it was my own idea. It's all diluting down stuff that he championed and stuff that he figured out. And I just know that I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for him. And I'll just give one Louie story. When I was at Westside, he was watching me bench, and he goes, "Jacob, you know what your fucking problem is? Right here. Right here. Right to your fucking eyes." And you look at your fucking eyes.
My God.
But no, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I'm grateful. And the community, right? When you really start diving into this community, again, the in Westside versus the world, you see it where, when people Westside rolled into a meet, and people are like, oh shit, right? And like you look at this community, and I think all of us as competitors have that in us when we go to train, and where you flip that switch and it's time to go. But outside of it, I think, it's developed this community of people who are just loving and giving, and it's a great place to be. And I'm grateful to be here for sure.
Wow.
Well said.
Absolutely.
What about you, Greyson?
So my experience with Westside, I interned there for about 3.5 months, and
Wow.
one of the first times, like when I met him, first thing he asked me was, "What do you deadlift? What's your deadlift?" And I'm like, 650, 198. He's like, "All right,
Wow.
that's pretty good." So that was like our first ever conversation. But like you guys said, I could go on and on about how kind he was and how he took the time to care and pass on the knowledge. But like, you know, the biggest thing I would say about him is he taught you how to think outside of the box. Yeah, you had to follow the methodology, the way that, you know, like he was kind of all on and off with the book of methods and stuff. I know we were talking earlier about how some of the stuff didn't line up with some of the stuff that he had put in text, but I definitely feel like he made you think outside of the box. So like, yeah, not everything's a cookie cutter style program. Like each athlete has to be individualized. I know for me, when we were box squatting, he always told me, like, for some reason, for like guys with longer femurs, he said, don't use chains on those guys. They don't work the same as they do with short guys on chains. And, you know, that was one of the things that stuck with me. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. But he definitely, like, it was just little things like that you were like, okay, it's not a one size fits all approach. You can customize it based on the individual. And main thing too was like working with kids. Like he told me, like, you know, make them do a lot of jumps, a lot of band work. And he was like, they don't necessarily need to do a lot of barbell work. He was just, you know, he was very just
European. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, just to
Did
top
he say
off
why
what
the
you guys
chains? Oh, sorry to mess up on you. Did he say
No,
why
you're
the
fine.
chains don't work for long femurs?
He said for somebody that's long femurs on a box squat, the reason that it doesn't work is because, like, you don't get the same load. So you know how, like, you unrack it and, like, you get all that tension to the top, then it deloads at the bottom. Well, he said the way it works with people with like longer femurs, like it doesn't like hit the same as it does with a shorter person. And depending on the box height and their strength of their hip. So like, I think when I first started, like my hips weren't real strong. So he had me using a little higher box. So I don't know if maybe that was part of it too. Like maybe the chains were, it was kind of defeating the purpose because the box was higher and you really weren't getting the same effect that you would without a lower box. But that was just, you know, Louie, he kind of like, he went on a rant about,
do you ever do that with people with long arms in the bench?
Right? I know, long arm people in bench. We never got on that.
Interesting.
I mean, from just thinking about it, bands, the taller you are, the more tension you get, right? But for a chain setup, unless you've got extra chain, like, because some of the guys that I work with, 6'10", 7 foot, I don't have chains long enough. Or if you actually hang it so they're actually touching at the bottom, they've unloaded the chain in their first 4 inches of their squat, and then, you know what I mean? Like it ends up just being a free weight squat. I mean, that's just hearing you say that. That's what I think about is those guys specifically. Like it just unloads so quick. You're not getting that full, link by link kind of pressure that you get.
Yeah, but that's where you use that chain in the middle that you can set that with. That's how you adjust that.
Yeah.
What about you, Alex? I don't know, but his damn video's off.
I was just on mute, so you don't have to hear the gym noise. So I started with, I come from like my whole family grew up with performance stuff, but it was drag racing. So my grandma was a drag racer when I was young and stuff like that. So I've always been a performance-based background type of person. And when I had to come back after COVID and rebuild my clientele, I started my own business and I wanted to train athletes. And instead of going the 4-year route of going to college and doing all that other shit, I had a coworker that actually interned at Westside. And he said, yeah, take the special strengths course. So that's when I got introduced to actually all of the teachings that Louie had. I knew who he was before that, but it was 6 months of getting those books and then having to fucking read every day, which I'm probably most grateful for that he gave me that habit. Like that is the one thing that I've taken with me from that certification that I have to use, all the time now. And it just helps with everything. But between reading all those books and then putting it to practice on myself while I did that for, the 6 months while I was studying, I noticed how much my body changed and how much stronger I was getting. And then all the things that he talked about really clicked with me because everything I've ever done is look for extreme winners. Like, what are the best people that were to do these things? Whether it was Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, now Louie, Westside, and all the powerlifting stuff. So that's what drew me to it, right? Is having the ability to make super freaks. Like, that's what I was shooting for. So that's what drew me to everything that he did. And then the way I listened to my coworker talk about his internship there, and then the way it read through the books, I was like, holy shit, this guy, I would fit right in this guy's gym. Like, just the shit talking, the fucking being an asshole, the pushing as hard as you can, and then doing it intelligently. So I always enjoyed like going and learning all this stuff. My coworker would always ask me, well, why? Why do you do that? Why do you do this? And it's not, you don't have to do it a specific way if you have a reason for why you're doing it. And if it provides you with results, well, then you have an even more of a reason to keep doing it. Right. So I unfortunately never actually got to go to Westside or meet him. I was planning on doing that this summer. And then obviously this all happened.
Yeah. All right, Henry, you're up.
Henri. All right. First of all, let me tell you how I was drawn to Louie. I was in the game already for a while before I ever met Louie. And one of the things that he did was I was able to put together my own system that basically you do with training. And when I met him and I read Westside the first time, I said, this guy was able to put all this knowledge into a usable template for anybody to use. And I said, it was brilliant. Then when I went there, it was a whole different world. I went out there and I just totally, I listened to every single thing he did, everything he said, because he was the most incredible teacher I ever met in my life. He could look at anybody, anything, and just analyze them and make them better. He was a genius at that. And one of the biggest things that came out of me, one of my first trips to Westside, was how he impacted me. Louie, never wanted you dead wood around, and he also said that if you run with the lame, you start to develop a limp. Okay, that goes back a long way. So when I went back to the gym, I told the guys, either you follow the way or get the fuck out. And that's what happened. I actually kicked half of the gym members out. They're pissed because I said, listen, here's what you need to do to succeed. Some of the things we did and they let go in different gyms is when you're a training partner, you're more than just a partner. You're a coach. You're a person analyzing what your partner's doing, so that when they're doing something different that doesn't work, you have to do something with it. You have to tell them and teach them. And you're not just these people sit around like now. I go into a gym and I see them on their phones or not even spotting the person. That's ridiculous. That person, the people I have to bring around, I'm starting to get loud. I'm sorry. I'm very emphatic, very passionate about this. I make people, they're either involved or get out. And that's why I only have like 60 to 80 people in my gym now. I had a gym where I had 2,000 members. And when I came down to this and I started doing the Westside type thing again, I keep people around me that want to really work, that want to succeed and believe. And so he impacted my whole life. I mean, like he said, get out there, compete, and also be a role model for all the other kids, because I get out there and do everything I can do. And that's how Lou basically impacted me. And for life, we became best friends. And so my whole goal now is, they always call me an ambassador. I'm even going to push harder. And all these people are doing these different programs and stuff. This is my way, and that's what I believe in.
I guess I'm last. Yeah, for me, I think like so many people, I mean, I don't know if I would have been a strength coach. And number two, would I be nearly as good as I am and continue to try to strive for if it wasn't for Louie? I mean, like, I talk to people all the time. It's like, no matter the system you use, where you're at in the world, like, people are using reverse hypers, people are using belt squats, people are using inverse curls, all this stuff. People are now, every squat rack has band attachments, chain attachments, because we could see how beneficial board pressing, pin pressing, box squatting, all this stuff. Like exactly. Elite FTS, Matt Winning's gym. Even I didn't even know about Sorenex the original guy. He was going to Westside. Donnie, all these, so many big lifters and gyms and everything's been impacted. And it's like, if it wasn't for Louie, so many of us would have never either got into it or would never know, would have been one of these bullshit artists telling athletes squat on Bosu balls, like, so, and I think, it's such a cool thing for Louie to have been such a hardcore person when it came to training, but be so giving outside of that. And there's so many people that like talk about like, oh, I do this and do that. But it's like, do you help anybody out though that ain't paying you? Like, are you giving anything away? Because you never know when the person that's in your same shoes just needs a little bit of help to get to that point, So, I think I believe the gym is going to stay open. That's like that's what I believe is going to happen. But
Doris told me that yesterday when I talked to her. She said that.
Yeah, that what is going to stay open?
Yeah, I talked to her because they contemplate really closing it.
Really?
Did they?
That's what Doris.
How is
said.
Doris? She must
Doris
be
is okay. She's strong. She's a strong woman. But her and I talked because we are in a very similar situation. That both my wife and I have been together for 40 some years, like Doris and Louie, and they were the cutest couple ever together, and they depended on each other a lot, and he loved her, and they were just a funny pair. I mean, like each of them had their roles in the business. Like, Louie, what he did was, and several times I used to call Doris up and say something to her, like, can you ask Louie something about me for, do you have that in the gym or in the business? He says, he doesn't know anything about that. He cares about his lifters and the gym. And that's Louie. Money, none of that. He could care less about that stuff. That was like my place is my place to train, and that's it. And he was that passionate about it.
Yeah, so I mean, being that even with it not being Louie, like I think he's impacted so many people that are going to be passing on the knowledge. So, I can't remember. I think it was Mark talking about all these fakos, talking about, oh yeah, that who's going to be the next Louie, and it's like there's never going to be another Louie, but there's going to be so many people that can pass on the knowledge that he brought, the passion that he brought, and what it really means to be dedicated to giving knowledge to other people, and not thinking all about yourself. Like people that like he was dedicated to his own training, but you best believe he was going to give the shirt off his back to the next person. So that's something that I feel like I had an extra boost in training. And when I was training the kids, like how you are when you train the damn kids, you fucking tired, they ask you the same damn question in a minute of damn time. But like, Louie's like at the back of your head, and you're like, fuck, I gotta do what I gotta do, So, I'm just grateful that because of him, I've met so many of these great guys like you guys, all because of these like-minded, no bullshit artists, people. And I love that. There's so many other facets, like all the NASM type people and the Poliquin type people. And I feel like the conjugate people are the most hated, but at the same time, it's funny, we're the most giving, I feel like. So it's a very interesting concept that you could be the most
hated and respected at the same time.
Yes.
It's so, isn't it the weirdest thing ever? Like people hate on you, but then they respect you and ask for your help. And you're like, but you just hated on me 4 days ago.
Buy my manual.
Look at us, all strangers trying to get together and trying to get the information out there. Like I don't. Khalil and I just met on the internet, and he talked about doing this, and you guys now, you're all friends now, man. I mean, like I have other people for resources, and we keep going out there and we continue to learn. I think that's the whole thing. The conjugate way is continually learn and changing what works and getting rid of what doesn't work.
Yeah,
I'll come out to Jersey someday, Henri. I'll come out. It's only like 4 hours.
I have people come all the time, and I welcome you, and I'm just so serious about it because this is like I was 35 years a special ed teacher. I'm doing what I really, really enjoy now. I get this little gym, 3,000 square foot gym, and it doesn't make a dime. My wife just says it's your place to train, no matter what.
She gets it.
She gets it.
Yeah, well, I'll be up there. It's gonna be between June and August, because we're gonna go up to see Jacob, as Jacob knows, in probably May. But then we're gonna go to New York. So I'm gonna try to get some more people, just because like Rachel and Greyson, I haven't met you guys. There's a lot of people I haven't met. So.
If I could afford it, because Laura Phelps is coming June 11th for a seminar, and you guys come on up and you'll be my guest. All right. I don't really know what she does with that, but I'm just gonna try and take care of you. All right.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, if she's good doing her thing, and I'm bringing her out to because I want women. I want to really start producing more and more women. And I told you, man, a lot of my guys, say to me, "Oh, how come you're not doing guys?" I just feel compelled to do this. I really just enjoy it. Women, guys, they think they know everything in a week.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, when I was in high school,
that's what my kids do. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, this was like 1994, 95, maybe. Might be 1995. There was a sign outside the gym for the weight room that said "No girls allowed."
Oh
So I
yeah.
couldn't at my
Bro,
high school
what?
could not go lift weights at my high school. I had to go pay to go to a gym to go in the weight room. And even then you weren't welcomed back then. It
What a
hasn't been that
disgrace.
long that females have been celebrated in the weight room. Like if you think about it.
No sense. And why is it women are way better at training than any guy? What is that about?
Bro, the
We have a lot
girls
of
that
grit.
train are the easiest to train.
We have a lot of grit.
A lot of grit.
I think we can just handle pain a lot better than you guys are a bunch of babies. I mean, I love you all, but I think girls can just
That's a
handle
fact.
pain a lot better.
Come talk shit. You come talk shit at our gym. I love it. My training partner right now is Marta Gress. She's a female, has been into it only for a year, but she's older. She's 42. And already after 3 months, she set like a couple world records. This girl is shit, blood, or mud, man. She calls me all the time. Honest to God, I feel like somebody that can do that, get you motivated. I'm never going to miss because I ain't going to let her have one up on me ever.
I'm a hook grip puller, and the guys that I train with can't pull hook because it's too painful. I'm like, you all have no grit.
It hurts my thumb. Shit. Jacob,
Henri,
you want
I-
to say
Of
something?
course there-
Yeah, I was just gonna say to your point. I would say like if people ask you that consistently, I would say, well, when have women ever been championed, as equal as men, right? Like when have they ever been given the attention? So it's so necessary. And also to y'all's point, people used to ask me like, who is your favorite person to train? And they used to always assume I would say like one of these NFL guys or whatever. And it was actually a woman that I trained named Asia Evans who medaled in bobsled. She was a track athlete. She converted to bobsled after she graduated from college. And Asia would do, and like any of my female athletes, they were early. Whatever you ask them to do, yep, no problem. I could say, we're going to pull a sled for an hour. Okay, no problem. I don't care.
Reverse hybrid. I know you got a reverse hybrid story on her that she ain't bitching
Oh
about.
my gosh.
It's always
Oh
the
my
reverse
God.
hybrid. Girls are like, all right, cool.
Oh my
Dude's like,
gosh.
wait, more than 10 reps? Whoa.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But like we had a college female athlete group at our gym, and that was always my favorite group to train because they were so dedicated, and it wasn't about the BS. It's funny, women get this label of like they're about drama, and I think guys are just about as much as girls are.
No kidding.
And
Absolutely.
this group was all about the training. That's all they cared about. And Asia did I've got a video of it. She did a standing 54-inch box jump, and you're talking about a 170-pound woman. And one day, ESPN was shooting in our gym about Asia getting ready for the Olympics, and her brother Fred was on the Vikings, and Fred wasn't having his best day, and we were doing some box squatting, and Asia box squatted 405, no belt, no sleeves, no anything, to a box, and Fred bombed out on it as an NFL player. And like Asia was one of the most athletic people I ever trained. And to your point, Khalil, about the reverse hyper story, I was training a woman once, and I had told her, hey, we're going to go. She had been doing one plate on each side on the reverse hyper. I said, we're going to go to 2 plates. Somehow or another, I'm not sure how she got to this math, but she ended up, maybe she was thinking 2 and 2 equals 4, and she put 4 plates on each side of the reverse hyper.
Wow.
And she didn't ask me. I wasn't there. She didn't text me or call and say, hey, are you sure we're going from 1 plate, or 2 plates total to 8 plates total? Like, no, she just did it. And then the next day, she called me and she's like, I'm really sore. Like, I mean, I'm moving okay, but I don't think I've ever been this sore. I said, what are you talking about? Like, your volume didn't change that much. It wasn't like we started a new bar or a new wave or anything. And she said, well, you bumped up that reverse hyper weight. And I said, yeah. I said, you're smashing that 1 plate on each side. I wanted to go to 2. You're just flopping around. There's no point. Like, you need some stimulus. She's strong. And she's like, oh, you meant 2 each side. I'm like, what did you do? She's like, I did 4 each side. I'm like, oh my God. Like,
how many reps?
So like, she was doing sets of 10. I don't know how she did it. Alex, I wasn't there. Like, I don't know. But to your point, like women just get it done. Like Asia would just get it done. I mean, I have video of Asia, when they're on the bobsled World Cup, they're in Switzerland or wherever, and they have trailers with barbell, squat racks, medicine balls in it. And that's all a lot of times it's all they have for a gym because they're in these remote skiing villages or whatever. And, it's 10 degrees outside. She's in a parking garage doing box squats and box jumps. She just gets it done.
Awesome.
And so many guys would just be like, oh, doing this, doing this.
That's hot, man.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with the girls. Like one of my girls, she'll do the 45-degree hyper. She probably weighs like 140. She's like 6 foot. And she started using the camber bar now. And she'll do like 110 pounds. And I have boys that complain about like 70 pounds, like including the barbell on there. And I'm like, I just record it when she does it. I show it to them and I just walk away. Because I'm like, bro, you deadlift, you squat all more than her, you weigh more than her, and you complain.
Oh,
Look,
Matt Forte, he was one of the best running backs in the league for his time at the Bears. He would schedule his training with Asia because he was like, Asia pushes me. Like she pushes me. She actually challenges me. Yeah, it's motivating.
Jacob,
there was
did
a
you
guy
train
at my
him?
gym this morning.
I did. Yeah, I trained Matt. I was
cool.
fortunate enough to be in Chicago when the Bears were the last time they were good. And I got to train him and Devin Hester and Tommy Harris and a bunch of those guys who were just so dang, athletic. Tommy Harris is one of the freakiest athletes I've ever seen. When he was in Oklahoma, he used to do barbell lunges down the turf with 405 on his back. I mean, that guy was an absolute beast.
You're doing my opener for lunges. I try that shit, I'm going to break my damn ACL.
But I always tell people, like, I think that your job when it comes to athletes, and I think this is where Louie's wisdom speaks into it so much, is the accessory work. Because so many of those guys were raised in a traditional powerlifting kind of collegiate structure for football where they just squat, bench, dead, straight bar. And when you tell a guy, hey, we can safety bar squat, we don't have to straight bar. And they're like, really? Because I tore my rotator cuff last year. And then last year I pulled my bicep off and I tore this pec. And it's like, I don't have to be in this position. No, we can use a straight bar and we can go to a box. Yeah, we can go to a box and we can use bands. They're like, I feel so athletic. I'm like, yes, it's okay to do all those things. And we can do all this accessory work that doesn't beat you up in season. Sled work, band work, stuff that they had never been taught was okay to do before. They thought they needed to be in there just smashing themselves, basically doing old school, Western periodization style barbell lifting. And it's just amazing how much it transforms somebody's life with simple prehab and like simple sled work. It really changes the game for sure.
What do you guys think makes...
How about the concept? Some people think they couldn't train anymore when they hurt their upper body, and we still have access to the belt squat or something else.
Exactly.
We give a myriad of opportunities to do these different tools. But I hate to cut away. I have family that just came, and I'm going to hook up you guys again. You guys are fantastic. I'll tell you something. I hope you invite me back again.
Of course.
And let me tell you something. I'm gonna reach out. Please text me or something later on if I get all your names and stuff like that, because I like to maintain contact. Let's do something. Let's get something out there again.
Before you bounce, let me ask you a quick question. Well, I want to ask everybody this question, but I'll start with you. What do you think makes people scared to use variations and bars in just in general in training?
They think they'll lose their technique. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, they're afraid. I think they're afraid to lose their technique, but they're also afraid of something new all the time. They're just like they think, like, oh, I'm going to get hurt, because they're afraid. They have a general pattern. They think they have to go straight down all the time, do the same stuff. Because look at guys, if they made gains in their bench press, right? They've done rotating triceps forever, right? Some people will be afraid, no, I'm not trying something else. God forbid, I won't be able to do the same thing. They don't realize that variation might give them even more of a chance to do more things. Like, I'll tell you something. That's why I get goosebumps. People laugh at me all the time. But when I talk about this, they get excited because we have the opportunity to get out there and change a lot of things. Instead of keeping people in the same old stuff that doesn't work, to be benching the same amount. How about the people that all the time, they go there and they close grip 135 forever? How the hell are you going to become stronger if you don't get your triceps any stronger? Or why? They use belts for mornings. It's ridiculous. Make the body stronger. I'll leave on that note.
I agree.
You guys, listen, man. God bless you all, and I'll be back. So my daughter came to visit me, and I'm going to go see her. Right? And
me too.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Soon. Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Well, I'll say to keep answering that question about bars. You know, one of my business partner with this online training app that I have is Tom Callis, and Tom he's a 5-time world record squat holder in reps. He squatted 816 at 198 in reps only. It's pretty strong.
That's impressive.
And you know,
Can't do that shit in a year.
yeah, and you know, and he came, you know, Tom.
Wait, does he know that his phone's still connected?
He does not know. Let me see if I can get him off. Let me see if I can just...
Hey guys, I gotta head out too.
You're out of here?
Yeah, I'm gonna head out here. I gotta go down to the gym, take care of a couple things.
Is that
Nice to
your
meet you.
Greyson, or is that you work for somebody else?
So I'm a private contractor down at that gym. There's a lady, she does
Group classes or something.
They do some group classes, yeah. And I do my thing, and we just basically share the rent. And I'm a private contractor, so yeah, man, it's a good setup. Absolutely, yeah.
So
it's nice talking with you
have
guys.
You at the pod one-on-one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
No, it's nice to meet you. I found you on Instagram. I'll be in touch.
Sounds good, man. I'll follow all you guys too. Nice to meet you, Alex.
Have a good one, man.
Nice to meet you, Rachel.
Nice to meet you.
Yep. All right, guys. We'll see you later.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jacob. I do want to hear what you were saying.
No, I was just saying when I met Tom, he was training old school Western periodization, and like
When was that?
squat day, 2018, somewhere around there.
Okay.
And yeah, it was. And he was training like on his squat days, he would do like 8 sets of triples at like 700, wrapping his knees for every single one. Like his biceps were so pumped, you know, by the end of it from the bar, he couldn't even like turn his hands out, just beating himself to crap. And what I told him when I met him was it will work. Anything, if you do it hard enough, will work for a while. That's a very like low hanging fruit question in terms of like effectiveness for training. You know, what's the right question is what's optimal, right? Like not what works right now, but what's optimal. And Tom went to the hybrid performance meet early 2020, like right before the pandemic hit. It was in February, and he tore his knee up and he tore his pec in the same meet. You know, he says he left Miami. He went to Miami with 2 knees and 2 pecs. He came back with 1 of each. And then he called me and was like, will you help rehab me? Because, you know, I'm not a physical therapist, but when you work with all these NFL guys, they're always beat up. So you just have to find ways to do things. It's like, it's very similar to powerlifting, right? Like you just got to figure it out. And so I said, yeah, I'll help you. And we sat down, never forget it. We sat down with a whiteboard and I just drew out like wave loading, you know, waves and alternating percentages and max effort and how all these things are supposed to work and how you would actually use different bars to do different, you know, to get different weaknesses, and how if you're going to straight bar to meet, even as a raw lifter, you can still use, I was like, the further out from a meet, the more crazy the bar, so to speak, and the closer to the meet, you know, the more standard the bar, and you can still get a lot of the benefits. And it was just like mind blowing for him. And I don't think we would have had a productive conversation. Well, I knew him for about a year and a half before that. And I don't think we would have had a productive conversation if he hadn't gotten hurt. And that's what I was saying earlier about, you know, how they had to figure it out. But Tom, you know, now he has a camber bar, a Mars bar, a safety squat bar, like every band's, like, you know, all of that. And his last meet, he didn't take a straight bar until 6 weeks out of his last meet. And it was a walked out meet. He did USDA. It was walked out in wraps, but walked out. And normally he's a mono guy. And people talk shit like you can't walk out a squat. And he walked out and squatted 781 or 791 in wraps, walked out. And he had 807 on the bar, and he had it halfway up, and his lat tore because he was torquing the bar so hard. And they took it from him because they heard the noise and they took the bar. And he was so mad because it was up. I mean, he just had to finish the lift. But anyway, and he was like, if you would have told me 3 years ago that I didn't have to be on a straight bar until 6 weeks out, I would have been like, no way. Because to your point, Khalil, like they feel like their technique's going to fail or something's going to fail in that respect. And you know, it's unfortunately, I think when it comes to strength training, because anybody can do it, anybody can walk into a gym and lift, you inherently think you know more than you know because it's easily accessible. It's not like, you know, if I was going to build a shuttle today, I wouldn't go in my backyard and try that, right? Because I don't have that knowledge, you know, to go to the moon or something. So I think because it's easily accessible, people assume that they know a lot, and it just unfortunately takes, like, it's like anything in life, right? Like, you know, I have kids, and you know, they're young still, but you already see that. I'll tell them one thing and it still go do the other, and it's like, yeah, you know, that's just how life works. Like, we're
Told
all
you.
stubborn. We got to learn. We got to learn.
Yeah, I think the other thing is, like, especially it's way more common with the raw lifters, like, well, like with Westside, it's like too much variation, or the box squat doesn't carry over to the free, or you can't be doing this. And like, I have learned that, like, if you're a raw squatter, you should free squat more, just because it's a very different movement. That's being able to literally sit down onto the box, whether you're the stay tight guy or loose, relax the hips. Like, you're not doing that when you have a bar. So it is pretty foreign. But what I have learned is that your max effort days, you can do more box squatting. Then you load the hamstrings, take some load off the knee, right? But you keep your stance close to the free squat. That's the biggest thing. You just want to keep your stance how it normally would be. And then, but on your dynamic days, you just do a lot more free squatting waves than a geared lifter. I mean, geared lifter, I don't know if you ever really need to do a free squat wave, but if you're raw, okay, now you do just more free squatting. But when it comes to bands and chains, I think it just depends on like we talked about, limb length, and the movement. Should you do more like, I think with the raw squatting, like, you should do more free weight, but the bar does not need to be straight. That's one thing I've never seen anybody be able to tell me why I should, like, there's like, but like, it's always I'm going to lose technique. Well, unless you're like 10 years old still, you probably already have the technique you're going to have, and it's not going to go away because you did a 9-week period of doing a safety bar and a camber bar. Like, you'll be fine. But I always tell people, and I think a lot of people, even if they use the bar, they don't understand what that bar is addressing. If you use a camber bar and you're weak in the bottom, that camber bar is going to show you how weak you're in the bottom. If you have a weak upper back and use a safety bar, it's going to be way harder than just using a straight bar. If you're weak in the triceps and use a football bar, it's going to address the problem. And all while it doesn't beat, like, the bar feels like crap, but it doesn't beat up your body like a straight bar. How is that not an obvious reason why you should be using those bars? Like,
yeah.
And then, like we said, a few weeks out the meet, okay, you do straight bar. But then it's like, also, it's like, if they're not doing, I feel like the guys that aren't using a conjugate or a variation of it, they're not doing traction-based work. So they're not using reverse hypers and belt squats and doing a lot of sled work. So they're out of shape. Their back's always messed up. Their hips are usually not strong. They don't do any abs, you know, like, it's shit like that where it's like, you're not even doing that. No wonder why you're beat up. You know, it's like, so yeah, it's so much of Louie stuff comes from the Russians and the Asians and martial arts and all that stuff, where it's like, it's old stuff that people pretend like it's new, and, oh, it's crazy. No, it's really not. And I don't know. It's just so funny. But I always say, well, it just makes us look better, you know? So we need them to make us look good, right? Like,
well, it's
some
like
people got to
Mel
suck,
Tiff
some
talks
people do
about
better.
in super training, like, we got fucked over here because of politics. So our training sucks dick because of the Cold War. And it's like, well, yeah, if you want to stick on that road and be like, oh yeah, you can't do any of the conjugate stuff because, you know, the Russians did. Well, look, motherfuckers, we lost all the time in the Olympics, constantly. They all took drugs, every single one of them. And, well, the Bulgarians, the Russians, they fucking wax the floor with us. Like, you watch the Chinese weightlifting team, they crush us. The Jamaican sprinters, they use the conjugate system, they crush everybody. Like, there's a reason it makes all these fucking freaks. Yeah, dude, it's nuts.
Well, and to your point, Khalil, I think Tom is such a unique research experiment, because you're talking about a guy who was already the best squatter in the world at his weight class and who started using all this stuff. He doesn't box squat very often. When his knees hurt, he box squats.
He box squats,
And when he's further out from a meet, he box squats. But like that 12 weeks of prep, he always free squats. But I think Louie would be the first person to say that box squatting is a tool. And if you're an athlete or a geared power lifter, there's a lot of reasons to box squat for sure.
Yeah.
If you're
My
a,
athletes,
you
I
know,
don't have a free squat. I just
you know,
don't.
if you're a raw power lifter, then you probably have some reasons to free squat as well. And I think it's just a tool, and it's all about using the right tool at the right time. And I think that's what's so difficult for conjugate for a lot of people is they want a one-step solution, and it's not that. And you know, to think it is that, it just shows you how unexperienced some people are to believe that it's just one thing and that fixes it, because it's, you know, the human body's incredibly complicated and performance is incredibly complicated. And you know, you have to just use the tools in your tool belt. It's just some people like their power drill, and that's all they know how to use.
Yeah, I think too, it's like we talk about like so many people, because you can have access so much information so quick, and you can get a solution on your phone and everything happens so fast. Not everybody's okay with being a little worse than what they maybe could be if they kept it super, super simple and did the same thing all the time. They're not so hungry for the solution. They're not willing to give up, go a little bit backwards to go forwards, you know? It's like, it's like, you know, figuring that out is fun for some people. And for others, it's like, no, I got to get this number or I'm not cool on Instagram.
It's the emotions. Like I find that when people who are 100% straight bar athletes, they go over to a specialty bar and they have a less than stellar workout in their brain. So everybody gets all, you get all in your head, right? And you start crying in the gym and you're all mad that you didn't hit this fictitious number that doesn't matter. And then when you look at it, you're like, but look at the bar you just used. That's an SSB to a box with change or band tension or maybe reverse bands, whatever we do that day. And you hit this number, but your straight bar is 275. So you're already over your straight bar, but it wasn't what you wanted because you have accommodative resistance and that's messing you up. Like, get out of your head.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't get past, like, then you know, the way that we build it, I don't know how you all program, but we do 3 different things. We do a strain overload test, and we only squat every other week on max effort lower, and then pull every other week on max effort lower, just for longevity reasons. We obviously do speed work every week. And then by those tests are all strategic. So, you know, if I'm pumping something up for accessories and I want to make sure that the accessories are working, my test day, like bench, for instance, I'm doing a football bar into bands on Friday for my max effort upper, because I've been hitting 600 reps of triceps a week, and I want to see if those movements I've added in for volume are carrying over to my bench. So like the way that I program and the way that we program together, my training partner Mike and myself, and I program for my friend Tracy for free to get her stronger. We just build in all these kind of like strategies to make sure we're not going in the wrong direction for too long if it happens.
Making sure the volume is where it needs to be to push whatever that number is, because you're pushing that certain muscle group. You push that certain muscle group. Okay, it needs to carry over to this type of press, pull, or squat.
Yeah. If you're doing all this volume on the other side of the gym and it's not carrying over to your main lifts, then you're just banging your head against the wall.
Right. Now you guys are squatting. What is it? 2 weeks in a row, then a deadlift? Is that what you're saying?
No, so our schedule is Sunday we'll max effort lower. So 1 week will be a deadlift variation. The week after that will be a squat variation. And then Monday I will dynamic effort upper. Wednesday I'll dynamic effort lower. I usually do either Zercher or front squat to a box every week with accommodating resistance. And then Friday we max effort upper. We just build our train. That's when our training partners are all there. So we do max effort weekends because everyone's around. That's the reason why we do it that way. So at least for every 6 weeks, we'll test the deadlift, and every 6 weeks, we'll test the squat to see where we're at on some kind of
completely free, or so
not free.
No,
just variations. Yeah, so it could be like a deficit deadlift, or an SSB to a box, or an SSB with reverse bands, which is usually an overload for us.
Now,
for strains,
when he does the, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say for strains, we usually do like into band tension or chains. And overloads like a slingshot movement, reverse bands, anything you can overload kind of the top end of the movement. And then the test is a little backed off from everything, but still a variation.
The reason on dynamic day you're doing front squat or Zercher squat, is it because you have you're one of the people that staying upright is hard, so you're sticking to those two like all the time?
I'm a crazy raw beltless lifter. I don't wear a belt. So I build I do my front squat because it builds everything on my body. We figured out I was doing back squats for a while and I wasn't getting any stronger in the regular squat. So we moved over, my training partner, Mike, he's like, let's try front squats. And we add them in and everything started to take off. So for me, front squats have the best carryover. to a box
Okay.
for my main lifts.
Well, Rachel, you're hardcore because I don't think I've ever heard the word searchers with accommodating resistance in the same sentence. So if you're doing banded searchers, that's
shit.
pretty serious.
You doing
I
it
think
in
her-
arm crease, or you got the Zercher harness?
No, I use the duffalo bar because it sits just above.
Oh shit!
My last Zercher squat to a box, I hit 305, and I was bruised for like 2 weeks after. I'm bruised all right here in the lower part.
And we got the
of arm.
harness.
What
I don't do
happened
no
to
arm
you?
crease shit no more. Fuck that.
But
I got
only
lucky.
do
I
it
had
like
my
twice
back
a year.
spasm at the bottom of 315 with free. Oh fuck! I don't even want to think about bands.
Yeah, that's hardcore. I mean, the one of the more hardcore variations I've seen recently is so like I said, I keep saying about Tom because we train together a lot. And anyway, when he first started getting into bands, at one point he did like what a lot of people do. He did too much band, and then recently he decided that deficit banded deadlifts like really help him out and makes sense, right? Like it gets easier when you get to a normal bar to normal height or whatever. But and he said, well, if that's the case, what if I use a squat bar deficit banded deadlift? So, like just that extra tensile strength. So there's no flex at all. And that's what he's been doing. And him and Cam, our other buddy, I think they just pulled Cam pulled 650 or 700 off a deficit squat bar deadlift, and then the bar sticker too, right? So it's hard to hold on to.
Brutal.
But still, Zercher banded? No, that's I gotta try it now.
You get out of groove on
It's
that,
only
dude.
once
That
in a
shit's
while.
sliding right off the
It's only when I get to front
Bam!
squatting. Because they hurt. Like I can only do a few weeks of them and I'm done. I'm done for a good 3 months.
But I think you're right on the front squat. I think I got another buddy, Huck Finn Barbell, if you've ever seen that crazy guy on Instagram. But that crazy guy also, bench pressed 540 in a full meet or something like that raw. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
That's impressive.
And he always says that his flat bench gets better when he inclines. So if he does 6 or 8 weeks of incline work and doesn't flat at all and goes back to flat, his flat bench just skyrockets. And to me, front squat is the incline of back squatting, right? Like it just fixes all those little things that you can kind of like hide in a back squat. The front squat brings it out. And it's hard to do it because it's like a banded Zercher. It's just a pain in the ass to do it. But by doing it like that, I think it's really smart.
I'll wave the band tension too. So I'll do a front squat, my dynamic waves. I'll do, right now I'm going to like a 11.5-inch box. So it's pretty low, but I'll do no bands 1 week, one set of orange bands 1 week, and then double orange bands the third week. And then I'll go back to no bands. So I just,
are you like this or like this? Or are you with,
no, I'm like this.
But
I'm like this.
Still though,
It's brutal. I'm all scratched up all the time.
have you been on a Mars bar yet?
No, we were talking about getting.
Me and Ed were just talking about this. I know you about to say.
We never did it.
Front squat with a Mars bar, flipping it around so that the bar's right here. You get a lot of the benefit from the front squat. It's not the same as having it here, like clearly, but it's very close and it's incredibly comfortable. So maybe even if something
thick? Does it sit up high or is it?
Yeah, it's
the
real
Mars
thick,
bar is like a backpack. It doesn't cross.
Oh,
rocket
it's not like the SSB that chokes you.
No, it starts here.
Yeah,
it starts here.
Yeah, it's better. It's better than the SSB. Yeah.
Okay.
I
can't do the thing. I can't choke myself out. I cannot do it.
No. The Mars bar is I would just say especially for your use, I would look into it because is a way to get out of that, feet kind of getting all messed up there and stuff. It would be a good variation for sure.
It does tax the shoulder. Like this position is very, very hard. Like I hurt.
I just realized. So I did front squat 2 weeks ago. I just realized my girlfriend asked me, "What's that mark in the neck?" And I've been saying, "I don't know." It's because the fucking front squat. That was 2 weeks ago. I got the bitch skin, so it's like it always fucks me up. I just realized it, man. Yeah, fuck the front squat.
Girlfriend's like, "Sure, you don't know what that is. Sure."
She cooking for me, so I'm good.
Well, for Atlas Stones too, when I used to do strongman, front squat helped me the most for Atlas Stones.
I think it's a full body builder. Like it just keeps you upright.
No, it's a great lift. It's just
if it's harder,
it's like a lot of things.
It does something.
The bracing
the
alone
sucks,
under front squat is brutal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I did a reverse band front squat once.
You
reverse band front squat. Sorry, Alex. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. No, all I use is a transformer bar. You guys are over here doing all this fancy shit, and I'll just
Really?
go
Oh
ahead
yeah, I
and
use
adjust
the
my
transformer.
yeah.
I use the transformers bar.
Fucking
It's just a
transformer
bitch
bar's
to get
amazing.
in the transformer bar. It's so
It can
damn
be,
long.
Yeah, the handle. I want a new one where the handles come off. Have you seen that? So when they ship the new ones, the
I
handles
think Ed's
removed. So
actually
it's
gonna
like,
get the new one. Yeah.
yeah,
And the poles
that's
don't fall out. We have the older one. He's gonna get a few of the newer ones. But does yours, if you have the older one, yours, if you fucking stand it up in like the standing racks, the fucking poles fall out and bust your ass in the face. You get the new one. Supposedly there's like a pin and everything. Obviously more safety. I don't know why they didn't do it from the beginning, but
they're nicer.
and it's supposed to have.
Are you gonna show us?
We have
Yeah,
its
that's the
own
one we
fucking-
have. That's the one
It's
we
got
have,
its own
yeah.
fucking spot. And then these people don't know how to put the safety bar back because they're fucking retarded. But Jesus. But yeah, no, this thing is fucking money. So much better than hassling with all that other shit.
Yeah, I would say, Khalil, if you guys don't have a Mars bar, get that first.
Well, I want to say he just ordered 2 of the transformer bars. We've been talking about, because remember I told you that he was like, because we were talking about front squatting with bars, and he was like, who was it that said it at the seminar? I was like, it's Jacob. And I was just talking about it with one of the other coaches, that was the bar where it's because the safety bar obviously still more comes on a straight bar, but the padding isn't as thick, and just because it's not long and massive like that Mars bar, it's still choking the shit, and it kills your fucking biceps. The Mars bar,
I would say it kills your biceps.
You're not going to tear off your bicep when you're coming out, because if you're pushing the weight, it's going to roll forward. But the Mars bar won't do that, so it's better.
The Mars bar, you could not even have arms and use it.
That right, exactly.
You could be armless. I mean, I front squatted like 545 or 555 on that bar, and there's no way I could do that with a straight bar. Like it's impossible. But because it's comfortable. And again, if the goal of variation is to either fix a weakness or push strength, one of the two, right? It doesn't always have to be to fix a weakness. Sometimes it's just like you're saying, talking about strain, Rachel. Like you just need strain, so it needs to be comfortable so you can strain.
Right.
And then with the Mars
not
bar,
distracting,
right. And like the Mars bar with the good mornings and the lunges. I mean, I'm not trying to do an ad for it. I'm just saying, as a bar, I think it's something good to have for a conjugate style gym. There's just a lot you can do.
We were gonna get one before the pandemic happened, and then everything shut down. We're all gonna go in on one. I'll have to ask everybody if they're still interested.
Rachel,
only $630.
Do you work as a full-time strength coach too?
Who?
You.
Me?
Yeah.
Nope. I just
What do you
literally train. My training is a part-time job. I treat it like a part-time job. I don't miss any sessions unless I'm dying from some unknown illness. And then I help people in the gym all the time. For my full-time job, I work at a tech company in Boston, downtown Boston. I make videos.
Okay.
I manage a team of content creators, animators, and video editors, and we make broadcast-style content for our gigantic company that we deploy around the world.
Oh yeah, you're doing good. You're doing good.
I'm doing all right. I bought a house this year. I'm in my office. I have a whole workout area over here. My conjugate corner's over there.
Nice. Now you just got to get some of your employees to go in there.
I know.
How do you get? I don't want to lift weights.
No one does what I do. Like people, they found out I pulled 1,200 out of meat. Like no one gets it. People are like, why are you going to keep going? I'm like, well, why wouldn't you? I don't want to.
They're like, but isn't your back going to hurt? And then you ask them, you don't deadlift, but your back hurts. Oh, that's funny. Huh.
Yeah. I feel fine. I'm sore, but I feel fine. I'm growing. Still growing. How do you guys program though regularly? Do you just do strictly conjugate, or do you mix? There are some people that mix like linear or try to mix linear and conjugate. They get all fucked up. They're not recovering. They can't.
Whoever wants to go.
They're going backwards.
On that one.
Well, I think for me, it's two things. So Tom programs himself. Like I'm not going to tell him how to program, set 5 world records. So I think he can figure it out. I'll just kind of give him hints and stuff. We talk about theories and I let his brain do it, but he does actually a linear style conjugate. So if he's getting ready for a meet, and he's like 12 or 14 or 15 weeks out, he goes Mars bar squat, because it's the most comfortable and it's probably the furthest off from a regular straight bar because the bar is so low on your back. And he still does 3-week waves, and he'll usually do like 5s, 3s, and in the last week he'll do sets of 1, kind of ascending to a heavy single, and then he switches to a safety squat bar, then he switches to high bar, and then he finishes with low bar. And the last 6 weeks of his programming are kind of linear, where each week he needs to hit a certain weight and then he needs to do back downs. Because he doesn't trust himself to program out a circa max or anything like that, which I think is actually smart. I think that's very difficult to do. You know, like I think we've all tried it, and it's tough to understand it the way that Louie does. And if you're not in gear, I think it's a different thing. But anyway, and that really works well for him. For my athletes, our dynamic lower day would start with usually speed pulls and jumps. We didn't do a lot of speed squats because guys just weren't great squatters, and I didn't have a lot of time. You know, you train, like, especially the pro athletes, people act like you have them all year. It's like you have them for like, clearly, you know, like you have them like 10 weeks, maybe 12, the whole year. I mean, because they're playing, and then they have mini camps at their football all throughout the year. They have families, they have vacation. Like, I don't have time sometimes to go through all that stuff. And then our accessory work for us on dynamic day was actual movement based. So we're pulling sleds, we're flipping tires, farmers walks, like more, I would say almost more strongman style, like very movement based. And then we had like our max lower day was more traditional max lower strength work. You know, even our dynamic upper day was really more hypertrophy work, and with some dynamic style like med ball work, ladder push-ups, you know, stuff like that. And then, so to me, I think it always, you have to shift the system towards, or for me, like what I'm going for. Like for me personally, I still do a dynamic day and a max effort day, and similar to you, I alternate pulls and squats.
It helps recovery, right? Like I think it helps recovery.
I think you have to. I've never personally gotten a lot out of a max effort good morning. I can do a heavy good morning, and this might just be me and like my body, but I can do a heavy good morning even after a max effort squat. It doesn't really change my weight that much. Because I always remember Louie saying like they used to do single effort good mornings and they figured out that was a bad idea. So they changed it to like 3 or 5 rep good mornings. And ever since, like, to me, a 3 or 5 rep is not, especially for an accessory movement like a good morning, it's almost how bad do you want it kind of movement, like not like a true intensity, like 78% or whatever it is you're trying to hit.
It's really fighting fatigue. This is really what that shit is when you do it.
Yeah.
But back when I first powerlifted, I used to do a max effort squat and deadlift supersetted for my max effort day. I would set both up and superset those things.
Why?
It was insane. I believed that you were in shape for whatever you trained yourself to be in shape for. And I did strongman before I did powerlifting. And in strongman, you do 5 max effort lifts in a day. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, if I can do 5, surely I can do 2. And my first meet was decent. I pulled like 630 and I squatted 500. But like anything, you learn as you keep going, and as you get stronger, like it's harder and harder to get yourself up for that. You know what I mean? Like it's just, you just can't do it forever. But I'm just saying, like, I'm not advocating anyone should do that. That's ridiculous. But just as an interesting story, that was it.
Go ahead, Alex. You want to answer her question?
So I use conjugate as like a reward. A lot of the general population people I work with, they're not at a level where they can even really do a true conjugate thing. And one of the things I've branched off and done is the conjugate tactical courses with Gus, and he gears it much more towards the general population as opposed to just being athletes, because especially a lot of the tactical athletes are more like the general population. And like with those people in particular, their job is life or death. And like they need to be able to perform at those levels high all the time, but they also need to be able to train regularly to mitigate that stress and be able to increase their threshold and stuff like that. So I've kind of come up with my own conjugate type stuff. The more traditional things I will run myself. A lot of my athletes, I've been messing with, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Mel Siff stuff, the auto-regulating progressive exercise that he has in super training. So I found that to be kind of like a bridge for people that maybe can't do true max effort work. If I can get them to do top triples, top sets of 6s, things like that, and they can progress, up to 5 or 6 weeks just doing that and adding weight, that's going to give them a better foundation, especially like with what Gus said is for dynamic work, to get people to build up to a high enough level of strength to actually get the correct percentages. Doing 5x5s and stuff like that, just working on raw strength, is a great way to bridge that gap for them. So I found like a lot of people, they just neurologically do not have the capacity to do speed work, right? Like they think, that's what I get irritated watching people do bands on the internet and they're using red bands. I go, who the fuck is using red bands for speed work? Like, that's not going to do anything for you on a squat. Like, it looks cool, but that's not the recommended things that we're doing here. And it's just like, I don't think they really understand the intent behind it, right? Because that's what makes speed work is your intention. I had a really interesting conversation with Ed Cohen when I got to meet him, and he talked about never using accommodating resistance, right? And this is one of the greatest powerlifters ever. And his whole thing was, though, his intent behind every rep was to move that fucking thing as fast as possible. And I go, well, that's a big indicator then that the speed work is really the mindset that you have going into the speed work that makes it so effective. It's not necessarily, oh, we use bands and chains. So if you can't mentally get yourself into that place, to be able to perform at that type of level and to be able to push that hard, well, then you're not going to get the illicit effect that it needs. And I think that's where a lot of people get lost with the dynamic stuff, right? Is like, oh, the Westside stuff doesn't work. Well, you probably don't know how to fucking do it right. Like the bands also
probably
that
too
people
heavy.
don't realize.
It's probably just too heavy. Everyone wants
Yeah,
like 3 plates and then bands, and they think it looks cool, but then they're killing themselves, and it's just too heavy. It
Well,
doesn't
and
need to
like
be that
from the
heavy.
outside perspective, how are you going to know the difference between a max effort and a dynamic lift if you don't even understand that accommodating resistance can be used on full, right? And then like the difference between geared and not geared, like everything Louie talks about is making a freak geared powerlifter for the most part. And bands, that resistance profile works exactly in unison with that suit to a fucking T. Like it gets easy at the bottom where the suit starts to pick it up, and it gets harder at the top where the suit starts to ease off, right? So people are like, well, I don't understand. And it's like, well, the intent behind it needs to be different then. So like a chain is going to be a better resistance profile for a raw lifter, right? It's going to give them more of that ease at the bottom, and then they're going to be able to push through and actually learn how to generate power coming out of the hole. But so like I've just messed with so I've only been doing this the last 18 months or so. So I started with doing it very strictly by the book. And then as I progressed and figured out, like I took a biomechanics course and went really deep in the rabbit hole of programming, I started just kind of making my own conjugate stuff where like, because at the end of the day, conjugate means using multiple systems to bring up concurrent periodization at the same time, right? So as long as you're doing that, and like I program for other conjugate coaches and they're like, this is conjugate? And I go, well, technically, yes, it is conjugate. Now, is it the Westside conjugate? No, but that's why it's my conjugate.
Yeah, but Louie would say that his version of conjugate is Westside conjugate. I mean, you'd be the first person to say that. It's not conjugate. It's his how he's used the conjugate system for his gym.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Well, and also I was going to ask you, Alex, have you ever done a max effort prowler push?
No, I have not.
That's a good one for.
That
That's a good one for like tactical. Like we used to do it with our linemen because same thing. Like I just didn't see a lot of value in loading them up for like a max effort straight bar. We go heavy on like a safety squat or reverse, something's fairly safe. But we would do a max effort prowler push, just 10 yards, low handle, you know. And the thing you're gonna hear is like my feet are slipping. That's what you're gonna hear a lot. And what I found to be the case is the weaker you are, yes, the more your feet slip. It's like anything else. You're not strong enough because I had this guy, Matt Twina, who was a D tackle, and he had like 22-inch calves, and he low prowler pushed like 1,100 pounds for 10 yards, and his feet didn't slip at all. You know what I mean? Like on elite FTS sled, like a real prowler, like his feet didn't slip at all. And you know, someone else who thought they were strong as him, they couldn't even move it, and their feet kept slipping. Like, well, my feet are. It's not your feet, man. Like you're not strong enough.
When the shit's empty, your feet don't slip, right?
Right, exactly. But I'm just saying, like I think that's one of the better things that we did was, you know, stuff like that. Like you're saying, taking it and adapting it towards your population for sure.
Yeah. And I think,
do you find that neurological training helps with the bands? Do you find that neurologically speaking, the general population gets more of that mind muscle?
Be an advantage, but I have the neurological capacity to be explosive. For like people that I have that are say in their 60s and they're not fucking explosive to save their life, then no, not necessarily. I don't find the bands to be that helpful in that sense. What I find to be really helpful with accommodating resistance is to teach them to actually be able to hit depth with a heavy load. Right. So that builds their confidence that way, where they're like, oh, this feels easy down here. And then at the top, they're, 20, 30 pounds heavier than they've ever had on their back. And so like that to me, I think is a good advantage for the general population. But even a lot of times with athletes, like if we're trying to peak, for example, we may not even use accommodating resistance until the very end because it is so highly neurologically sophisticated, right? Like you have to be so good at that movement for one, and then you have to be so good at generating power quickly as another thing, right? So it's like, there's two different things that we're messing with here, and if somebody doesn't have one or the other, then well, that's just a bad recipe.
Yeah, unless they're open to the time that it takes to build it, and that's 2-3 years probably.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it definitely takes time to build, and I find that APRE stuff that Mel Sif came up with is a really good way to bridge the gap. It seems like, right? Because if people are not used to taxing their nervous system at a very high level, like doing max effort every week or doing dynamic effort in the same week, then we can progressively start to build more of a strength threshold or a stress threshold for them to be able to manage that better.
That's very interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. No
Khalil, before you go, because I do want to hear, actually, I'm actually very interested to see your thoughts on this too, because you work with so many athletes, but you still dabble in that powerlifting world. But like, I just, for like this style, I'm thinking about so many things that we could be talking about. Like, it'd be cool maybe once a month if we just picked a topic, max effort, and like you got a few of us on here and we all just shared ideas, because I think it's really cool. Like, something that keeps coming to my mind as you were talking about your older clients, Alex, is back to my roots of the Arthur Jones style, like slow eccentrics. And like, I think that's something that's underutilized too in accessory work specifically. And there's so many benefits from that. But anyway, Khalil, I think that'd be cool, man. If we did that once a month, just pick a topic, accessory work.
I need to do it. When I did the first one, I was like, we'll do it once a month. And that was before the seminar, and the shit just got crazy. And I'm finishing up the book right now. So like, I just keep forgetting about it. And then like, it's crazy when we planned this out, it had to be the same within the same week that Louie passed. So it was actually kind of pretty cool time. But I do want to try to do this once a month. I'm still like in the beginning where I'm figuring out like what posts I'm supposed to do every day, what I gotta do with the kids every day. Oh, I'm adding new stuff every day. And then like between me and my girlfriend, we literally bounce off ideas for like shit I could do to make it even more fun or exciting, or stuff to make it more unique with my kids. I mean, you see like stuff that we do, like it's my ideas that like we bounce off each other. So like with stuff with the podcast, like, oh freak, I gotta do a podcast. I know I gotta do one. Shit, I'm forgetting. So it's like this. So we definitely need to do this because I think it makes it more fun. Where obviously it's more roundtable, where there's more open. And then you just get so many different. You can address one topic. And you can have 10 people that all use the same system and answer the question totally different. And when people listen to that, they say, well, that one person's situation sounds exactly like mine. I'm going to try that out. And
that's what conjugate is, though, right? Yep. In a nutshell, that's what conjugate is.
Yeah.
And people don't get that.
If you got 20 of us on a group chat and let's say only 6 people can make it, that's fine too. Like if you're really hard to do this with 20, I mean, don't feel that pressure. But I'm just saying, I think it'd be really cool. And I don't want to miss an opportunity to say this. And I've told you this many times, but I appreciate so much your contribution towards furthering the knowledge and getting people together, because you're the glue, man. Like, you've been the seminar stuff like this. No, seriously. I mean, no one else is doing it, right? Like, so thank you.
Yeah. Well, I got to do it as I'm less busy as some of these other older great coaches. At least I try now before it gets too crazy. Got to do it now as long as I can by myself. Then it's established. Then I can have like some type of manager to manage it. You know what I mean? Maybe we'll have better lighting and stuff like that eventually. Shit like that. The bougie stuff will be added later.
I'll start editing for you. Don't worry.
Yeah, I think it's got to stay raw and gritty, man. You can't make this fucking gritty. This is not a funny thing.
I tell people when they come on pod, I say, bro, I don't edit this shit. So please just know that what you say is going to stay. Partly because I don't know how to do it. Number 2, I don't care.
But I think a lot of that is why conjugate hasn't ever been fully embraced, is exactly what you're saying, because all of us care about what matters, which is our clients. Like, that's what we really care about. And the stuff like racial, I mean, you can speak to this all day long. The how it looks, how it's presented, the brand, like all that matters so much when you're talking about selling stuff. And everybody that I know who's really conjugate isn't about selling. They're about fixing and improving. Correct. And yes, selling is a part of it. Don't get me wrong. Everyone has a stern living. And if you're a strength coach, for sure you do. And I think we can learn a lot of lessons there. But I think it's a lot of why we're not as quote unquote popular, because we haven't taken conjugate like and package it up in this really nice, presentable. Hello, welcome to Conjugate Training 101. Like we just haven't. No one's done that because I think.
Well, no, that was the original Louie VHS tapes, though, back in the day.
Oh, it's so funny, right?
Yeah.
That's so, I have not touched that DVD that they sent me with that special strength certificate. I read all the books. I have not watched that fucking DVD one
Bro,
time.
you need to watch those DVDs.
You need to watch it.
You gotta. It's fun. Now, it's half it. You're gonna be like, man, I gotta work out, and the other half you're just laughing at the shit that Louie like. When Louie like low key talking shit about people, and he makes that face like, you know, I'm right.
Right.
Bro, you will fall out your chair.
Well, that's like the USAPL tangents that he has in the books. He just goes on a fucking rant about how terrible they are. It's like, wait a second, I thought we were just learning about accessories. What just happened here?
They don't do accessories at the USAPL.
Yeah.
They fold over like a lawn chair in the squat.
Are you guys all on the East Coast?
You said what?
Are you guys all on the East Coast? Jacob, are you on the East Coast?
Yeah.
I'm in Chicago.
Do you guys have to deal with the Mark Ripito shit out there, or is that just because I'm in Colorado that I hear about this fucking idiot all the time?
I forget about his stuff. What is he about? What is his?
He is the SPD guy. Like, that's him.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The start, like, Louie fucking hated him so much that he's like, this idiot doesn't even know what starting strength is. Like, he named his whole program Starting Strength, and he's like, yeah, I'm not going to talk to him. He's like, no way. But yeah, like,
a lot of like
the
SBD lifters don't come to our gym anymore.
I
like you see, they come in and then they just don't last because of the way that we train and how everybody's getting stronger every week, and they're just starting to go backwards, and then they just move on to another gym. Or if they do come in, they see what we're doing and realize that there's a better way. If you're looking at a bunch of lifters all over 40 and you're thinking, you guys are all strong as shit, what the hell am I doing wrong at 25? You're going to start asking questions if you want to get stronger. And that's kind of what we show at our gym. All my training partners are over 40, with the exception of one who's 35. And they're all strong as shit. A guy today, he's 2 weeks out from his meet. He's multiplied. He's 55. I think he currently weighs 146. He squatted 615 today for a single. 615. And it flew. Like, and he's little.
4 times his body weight. No big deal.
It's insane how strong he is.
Keeping it light.
Yeah.
Alex, I was lucky enough to, like, the gym that I used to run was private. It was appointment only. So I didn't have to worry about that. And then now I actually don't train in person hardly ever anymore. It's very rare. So that I don't have to deal with that crap. But I'm with you, because when I was at Barbell Brigade, again, especially during that time, it's when like Mark Bell was popular and everybody was starting to power lift. You know, most of the gym was 45 minutes of foam rolling and then an hour and a half of squat, bench, and deadlift. And I was just like, man, you know,
45-minute foam rolls.
Oh yeah, that's important.
Full body massage.
Yeah, you gotta mobilize. I'm like, oh my goodness, if foam rolling and stretching fixed everything, we would all be fixed by now. But don't get me wrong, I'm for some of it, but you know, you gotta work out at some point. But anyway, I just think I think for a lot of people, it's so much of it's social, and to your point, Rachel, I think it's intimidating for a lot of people, and it's not intimidating because we make it intimidating. It's intimidating because it's different. And I just think inherently, like, the way is going to be, you know, narrow and small, and not a lot of people are going to always follow. And until somebody comes along who's like a similar like mind as Louie, but they present it in a way that, I mean, Louie always says, right, like, often imitated and always irritated. Like he loved it. He loved, you know, some people like me, like, I like to be liked. Like, I can admit that about myself. I don't like conflict. I don't enjoy that. And like Louie, I think, thrived off of it, right? Like, let's fucking start a fight so we can max out. Like, let's go. I think
that's probably what drew me to it so much. Like,
right. So I think maybe in the next 10 or 15 years, you know, it might shift, but I don't know. I don't know, because I think eventually sleds and bands and chains and boxes are all going to get drawn into this just world of strength. And it's just like, some people do it, some people don't. I think, you know, in terms of actually being conjugate, it's still going to always be this niche, not extreme, but like kind of off to the side. The people, you know, what does he always say? If you know, you know. Mark always says that, right, Khalil? If you know, you know. And that's just the way it's going to be.
I think the biggest complaint I get about people who don't want to do true conjugate, like with accommodate resistance, is they say they don't want to take up the time it takes to set the bands and chains up. And I'm like, It's
And
10
the
or
math. It's the
15.
math too. People don't want to do math.
Use
My
a
bro, it's
free
Or they
20%,
can't do math.
25%. Shit, that ain't that hard. Fuck.
Or
But- and I
you
get
got to buy
so
a fishing
discouraged.
scale so you know how much stuff weighs. Oh my God, what are we gonna do?
Right.
So
Whatever's gonna
we have
happen.
it set up in our gym. We have a rack with a scale that's permanently there on a pulley, so you can bring it. You have to pick the chains up. You
Jesus.
just bring the pulley
Wow.
down. Like we're legit.
Could you make it any easier?
And
Well,
people
but-
don't. It's too long.
But they'll do the math from kilogram to pound, so they can use red green plates. So
USAPL for life, baby.
I fucking hate the
Well,
kilos.
by the way, on USAPL, I competed in the state USAPL championship in California and Illinois, and got second in both as like a Westside conjugate guy. And both
That's
meets,
badass.
I was beaten by a specialist, which you all see the memes about it. Like the one meet, I weighed in at like I think USAPL, the cutoff is 265 or something. So anyway, I was like 257 or whatever I weighed. And the guy who beat me opened in California. I out squatted him, and I think we tied on deadlift, but he opened on bench at 501. Opened. That's impressive. And then same thing in Illinois at the state championship there. I was leading by 100 pounds going into deadlift, and the guy who beat me opened at 780. Opened 780.
Oh,
Jesus.
I have no chance.
I mean, what are you gonna do? But the point is like I used to tell people all the time, like it works for USAPL too. It works for anything if you train hard and know how to use it.
Well, and like when you talk about the super training, if you go into the dynamic correspondence, the dynamic systems theory, and you apply that to the conjugate system, it's like, oh, fuck me. You have the blueprint to figure out how to work it for anybody. Problem is nobody wants to understand dynamic systems theory. Nobody wants to understand dynamic correspondence. They're like, what does amplitude mean? What is that? Like, read a fucking book, man.
Nobody wants to open super training.
Well, that's true.
I'll open it. I don't know if I'm ever going to open it again. Fuck that.
I'm so stupid when they sent it to me. Like the fucking thing they tell you to walk through it, they literally tells you to read the whole book of super training. And I made it through like half of it, and my coworker's like, dude, just go understand dynamic correspondence and dynamic systems theory. That's all you need to really know from that. I go, God damn it. I just read like 200 pages of this. Like every day for an hour, I'm sitting here stuffing my mind of this science, and I didn't need to know it. Like, God damn it.
I went front to back. I was trying to do the skim and like go back and forth. I just went front to back. Once I had it paid for, I finally did it. But bro, when I first got it, it was like I read the first 100 pages in probably like a month. I would do like 10 pages every other day, and then I didn't pick it up for 9 months, and then I banged it out in like 3 months the rest. But yeah, that shit's rough.
It's a great encyclopedia, but front to back.
Yes. But back to Rachel's original question when you asked about program and conjugate, like I think I just do different like I kind of have like an idea what I do with gem pop that just want to kind of maybe gain muscle and get stronger, powerlifting, and then my athletes. So like with the gem pop people that want to get stronger, and like I have one guy, he wants to get stronger, put muscle, and he wants to be in shape for when he transitions to do jiu-jitsu, right? So that's a lot of fucking different things. And that's a lot when you're coming from like not being in shape. But like for him, we do a lot more 2 days a week where we do one day like 5x3s, 4x3s, usually straight weight, another day more like 4x4s, 5x5s, a little bit more volume, a little less of a percentage. But most days, both those days, we're usually working up to a top set. So we're doing that auto regulation. I don't do many AMRAPs with them. Sometimes on the bench we will, on the day that would have been max effort. And then basically every 3 to 4 weeks, then we'll test his like original 3-rep max on the bench or original safety bar box squat. But like with that population, free squatting, almost never. Like we use the winning belt squat basically for the free squat variation. And then usually after after that testing week, I'll do like how Jacob likes to do like a lot of max effort sled or max effort prowler, or because he's gem pop, he's going to go on vacation, something like that. I'll work him way back where it's accessories only. The next week is max effort prowler or a sled. And then that third week is like the first week where he's actually going to do like a 3 or 5 rep max. Accessories though, because he wants to put on more muscle, it's more intensive. So I do a lot more. I'm a big fan of like Mountain Dog. So we do strip sets, drop sets, ascending sets, cluster sets, stuff like that. There's more tempo work in there because he can be sore because he literally only works out with me 4 days a week. My powerlifters only have 2 that work underneath me, and the 3 of us are all raw. So we do a lot more free squatting. There's more 3 and 5 rep maxes. The accessories are still pretty high, and we still do like a lot of reverse hyper, a lot of belt squat, a lot of sled. But I do, so like right now I'm working with Joe Lasco, the dude that used to do the stats at Westside, and I basically just tweak the stuff that I do from him to the guys that I have. Like, so we have different weaknesses, different muscle groups that are lagging. So I kind of tweak it like that. But I like when we do like 3 to 4 variations for lower and upper body max effort days. And then you cycle through where 1 week you do a 3 rep max. Then when you come back to that same variation, you beat it for reps. And then after another 3 weeks, you come back, you try to beat it for the same amount of reps with more weight. And I found that the body hasn't been too beat up, but the weights have gone up, and then the accessories are like pushed like crazy. Now with the athletes, it's like almost totally different. Like a lot of times their sprint or their jump, that's their max effort of the day, comes before they squat or deadlift. And then a lot of times they're doing 3 to 5 rep maxes Monday, Wednesday. And then that depends on the kid. So like I tell people all the time, I make like literally in my Google Docs, it's like athlete week 33. I print that out per kid. And then every day I'm scratching sit out or editing. So like I may say on there, sumo deadlift, 2, 3, 4, 5 rep max. And then on that kid sheet, I circle which one they do based on their readiness. And then I'll say box height or block height. So some kids are going to pull off the floor. So I write that. And some kids, it's a 2, 4, or 6 block pull, right? And then also like for their jumps, like some kids are going to do more depth jumps. Some kids are not ready for depth jumps at all. Some kids are jumping twice a week. Some kids are jumping 4 times a week. Some kids are jumping twice a week maximal. Some kids are jumping 4 times a week maximal. And some kids are jumping once a week maximal. And the other 3 days are like bounds and plyo swing and stuff like that. So that's where it's like their variations are in there. But with accessories with the kids, the accessories stay the same for like 2 to 3 weeks. Because guess what? After 3 weeks, they forgot what lat pull down is again. So like they're needing to master stuff. They're in that stage where like when we say we don't want to actually go away from a bench, it's actually true. Like we don't want to go away from I don't want to go like some of my 8th graders that I have. I can't go from a straight bar after their first 3 weeks and then go to a football bar. They forgot how to use a straight bar when I go right back to it. So what I usually do is do it maybe 5 sets of 3, then after 3 weeks, it's 4 sets of 4, then it's 5 sets of 5, and maybe we add a chain. But their second day, if they're in 8th grade, guess what? They don't have any muscle. So they're doing 6x6s and 8x8s.
Oh yeah.
You know, so that's where, and like speed work is only for my older kids that play a lot and are in season. If they're out of season or don't play a lot and they have no muscle, I'm going to do 5x5s in the squat. And I'm trying to do 75 to 80% in for a 6 meters per second because we have a 10 unit, right? And then it's a whole bunch of sled work, bamboo bar work, ATP, reverse hyper, stuff like that. So that, and I think the difference with training kids, especially young kids versus like pro athletes and college kids, more than not, you're dealing with people that have 1 or no injuries. Their testosterone is through the roof, whether they're boy or girl. You really got to be an idiot and try to hurt them. So they can do a lot more straining and AMRAPs and stuff like that because they also just need more time under the bar. Like I found that
they're baby deers. They're just, there's no.
Part of their training is learning how to train, learning how to do, like just walking around the gym, learning how to spot, learning to remember to ask for a spot coach so I don't die on the bench. I literally, they're struggling with the bar, looking at me. I said, "You were supposed to ask, weren't you?" You know, like it's stuff like that where it's like, and that's why like I've been trying to push to getting more 5th, 6th, and 7th grade because if in high school, basically I'm writing programs as spotting, that kid is so far ahead of the sophomore, junior in high school that comes to me and still has had no experience, or it's the football coach at high school. Like that kid that started that early, way more likely to get a scholarship, And they're probably not going to have the injuries that the high school kid is because he's been lifting with his LA Fitness friends or he's done weight room class, you know? So, and the emphasis got to be on beating their maxes more without a barbell. It has to be their jumps and their sprints. So like once a month, we're retesting their 10 yards or their 20 yards. If we had access to 40 yards for their laser times, and then once a month, no step, no, because we do a lot of dumbbell jumps, no dumbbell, like has their one step, their no step. If they play football, has their broad jump got better, you know, because some kids, they only need to squat 300 to jump 40 inches. And some kids, they need to squat 4 or 5. So like some kids, they get to 300 and it's like, okay, well, what's our 40 to 60 yard sprint? Okay, now we got to push your deadlift because your hamstrings and glutes are weak. You know, so do we really need to push your squat as much? We can really attack those quads and hips with more Bulgarians and step ups and stuff like that, you know? So, and that's a lot of that's come from, I don't know if you guys know Brandon Bird of Bird Sports Performance and Jared Bitney, who owns Explosive Mechanics. I kind of always tell people, I kind of try to take from both of them and I kind of make it my own. Like Jared, all he wants to do is bench, do push downs, and only do vert mat and back squat. But Bird, he does a lot of sprinting and a million different variations of jumping. So I kind of go in between, right? And they've been doing it longer. So that's, you know, that's basically how I program those, because those are my 3 main populations. I don't really have anybody. Like, I don't have any Olympic lifters. I don't have any tactical right now. I don't have any CrossFit. I don't have any strongman. It's just 2 powerlifters, a few gen pop, and then everybody else is team. It's a whole bunch of team sport people. So, yeah.
You're running a giant experiment right now. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. That's why
literally what that is
for school. No, I would never work for school. I can't. No.
Hey, Khalil, do you have your grappler do a lot of strongman stuff at all?
Well, so I have 2 kids that are wrestlers / football players. And then what was the actual question?
Do you make them do a lot of strongman stuff?
Well, I've actually started doing, and I felt like I was missing in my program with all my kids, more farmers walks. I don't really do much like med ball. I mean, I would never have a kid do stone. But the yoke, we have a yoke. The problem is that most of my kids can't walk and chew gum. So I've done it with some of the kids that are like 17, 18, been with me for a while, strong, coordinated, instead of a max effort sled or prowler as their active deload, but they're still doing max, they've done a yoke. But we do more single arm and both arm farmer carry stuff with either dumbbells or kettlebells. But the medicine balls type of stuff that would replace kind of like your stonework, I do a lot of that in the ATP. So we do a lot of marching, underhand style, volleyball, basketball, overhead, sometimes maybe one arm alternating each side. But I don't do too much. Like I do more strongman stuff with me and my powerlifters. Because sandbag, I think the conditioning has. But and the problem is that our only sandbag is like 250 pounds. So yeah,
they can do it.
Yeah. we have medicine balls up to 100. So we do more med ball stuff. But yeah, like we with the athletes, it's a lot of it is getting them used to training, getting used to just doing something enough where they can remember it, where when 5 people are asking me one question, I have a new kid, it doesn't delay the whole session. And then just them getting used to being in the gym. So I try to keep it as basic as we can. And every week, and one of those days, I'll introduce something that's like, maybe it's going to be a 5-minute conversation piece, because it's always fighting. They got there late. They got to leave early. They're destroyed from their practice at school. So it's like when you're battling those things, you can only do so much. Like, oh, we're going to throw on bands today. Hey, coach, what do bands do again? Can you give me the whole background when they were invented? How do they do? Hey, coach, was I supposed to put the bands on the outside of the bar or the inside of the bar? Hey, coach, is it okay if it's loose at the bottom? Oh, wait, coach, this band, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's stuff like that where it's like, I got to keep it where this session can flow through, because there's supposed to be 3 people in this squat rack. I got a new assessment while I'm training you guys. And the 5 that have been with me for a while, some reason can't remember where this, that, or the other thing goes or comes from, you know? So it's like, it's stuff like that.
They're playing you. They're playing you.
I love it. I love it. My favorite thing with the bands and like the younger group was, you tell them all the time, now when you take the bar out of the rack, Small, slow steps, right? Small, slow steps. Every time there's one who just it's like every time.
Oh, there's a box.
You
It's
guys
already
like to
there.
set the bands on squats. How do you set the bands up?
For what?
Squats. Like when you guys squat in the rack.
I've found that the triangle style is like really almost the only way you can really do it. Like you need to do it, where you double underneath your band peg and then you loop it through and it looks like a triangle. Like because when you do because when you do that single, like I don't know if you guys have the squat racks where you have the holes on the bottom, so you use 2 band pegs. If you just take it and loop it underneath and then you go straight up, more often than not, unless the person's really tall, the tension's loose at the bottom. And then sometimes also the band is sliding to the left and the right of it, so it's never perfect under. But if you do that triangle, all you got to do is the band that's not the part of the band that's not actually going onto the bar, you're just moving it up and down to make more or less band tension, and that's really it. Like it's also just the easiest to make sure the bands are even, at least in the standpoint of like how they're wrapped on those band pegs. So
I just double them. I wrap them around the bottom and I just double them and bring them up.
Yeah, that's what I double them too. I do that backwards fucking L shape, so it literally wedges you back into the fucking box.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. You gotta stand up.
Like I say, that's why I like triangle, and I set the the point coming out of triangle with wherever I want the squat to be, so that it pulls them into that right line. And like you can double it if as long as the band isn't too thick, but like you get into like the greens or the blues, like you can't double those.
I just use the micro orange or the micro
that
reds.
shit up.
Right. Graduated past purples, so I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about.
I used purples at Westside. I thought I was gonna die. I thought I was gonna die that day.
With Tom, when he was first getting into that stuff, he was doing blues, and I said, "I'll do it with you, but I'm gonna take the weight." I mean, well, he's an 800-pound squatter, right? Like he should be on blues, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, "I'll do it with you, so we don't have to change it." But I'm gonna take those straight weight down. So it's basically just doing super band squats, and it was hard as shit. It was so effing hard.
Bounced everywhere.
Coming out of that wave, I was really strong. Like when I went back to straight weight, I was actually really strong. I'm like, this is like really that. Light. Yeah, it's like that kind of Chuck Vogel thing.
Have y'all done cambered bar bands from the front back squats?
Oh no, not yet.
No, that bitch will make you get tight. The shit's already swinging down. The part of the top. You said what?
I've only done the banded deadlift from the front. I can't imagine a fucking cambered bar.
Oh, you do the forward pulling bands from the front too on pulls? I live on those.
I've done them. Yeah, they're rough. Like
I did a variation today for the wagon wheels.
Yeah, my problem is locking out. So like those pulling forward when you try to fucking drive your hips through, holy shit.
Yeah. They're so hard.
Let me ask y'all this, and then I got to run. Have you ever done a max effort band squat only?
My my training partner has tried to do that. His name's Dexter. He's psychotic. It's
fun. Killer in the show.
My buddy that interned at Westside, he said the first day he was there, Louie made him do band only max effort deads. He's like, what? I thought my fucking spine was gonna pull out of my body. He's like, yeah. I was like, they just loaded fucking blues on there. I was like, here you go. It was like fucking 5 or 6 something at the top. He's like, it was the worst feeling I've ever had in my life. He also told me Louie would make him do 100 rep maxes on the fucking reverse hyper and shit. Like, what? He's like, yeah, just find your 100 rep max. I have a coworker that was originally working. His name's Cooper Napoli. He interned at Westside and did, like, he graded all the tests while he was there, basically.
Was Louie trying to kill him?
Yeah, literally. He would make him go work out with the women because he wasn't strong enough.
I've done the 100 rep with the kids, like trying to see but it's not like it's more like most of the time be like, all right, start with just a strap, see if you can do 100 straight, but they'd be done. It's just one set. And then maybe 4 or 5 weeks from then they try it again and maybe add a 5, but not like he'd probably put on a bunch of weight on that shit.
Yeah.
And probably did 30 reps and then Louie's like, you're out of shape.
Louie subscribes to the Bulgarian method a little too much. And I don't think people understood that. Like, that's why he had the freaks he had, is because, well, he's going to run you through the fucking ringer and make you quit. Like, yeah, you don't have to pay to be there, but you've got to pay in fucking pain to be there. Like you're not. Like,
And the longevity is like 5 years tops, and then they're gone because they're just broken.
yeah, the way he did it, yeah. Well, you listen to like Kenora talk about it, and he's like, man, I remember working with Louie, and I see these old guys, and he's like, that was one of the greatest lifters I ever knew. And he goes, I don't want to fucking look like that when I'm old.
Right.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
All right, I gotta jump too. It was nice to meet all of you.
Yeah, it was nice
Yeah,
meeting
it's
you guys.
nice to meet y'all.
Khalil, thanks for setting this up.
Yeah,
Of
thank
course.
you, Khalil.
I'll keep this chat going, so the next time I make a post, I can just add whoever wants to come on next time, and I'll try to let's just do it next month. Just
Yeah,
try to
Just pick a
remind me
topic.
because I just forget.
I'll
I'm
remind
like,
you,
wait,
Khalil.
who do I have
Sorry.
to text? Who do I have to text? Who was I supposed to message to try to come on the pod off? All right, guys. So yeah. Like I said, we'll definitely be doing this next month. Yeah, maybe we'll do max effort. Oh, we talked about this a lot. I don't know. You know what? Here I got a better topic. Speed bench. No. Dynamic speed squats and speed bench versus straight weight. I think that's a big, because a lot of conjugate people are like, they do one or the other. Still kind of doing that higher volume day, but a lot of people it's bands and chains, and other people it's not at all. I think that's you could say, well, what's the whys behind that? Like,
Right.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't know.
down.
It's whatever preference is, right?
What's gonna make you grow? What's gonna make you stronger?
yeah.
What's gonna put muscle on
We
you?
could also just do like when I make the post about doing another one, and then I add those people in, then it could just be like, well, what's a topic you guys want to do? We can just vote on, and then we can do it. Because I don't really care as long as we're all talking about something. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. This is fun.
Right.
All right, y'all.
All right.
Enjoy your Sunday.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Hey, Khalil, what time do you want to meet on Tuesday?
Probably 11:30. I gotta
All right.
see. I don't know if I'm gonna fucking lift Monday. I may have to just take off because that damn deadlift from Friday when I maxed out fucked me up.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to do deficit deadlifts on fucking Monday. So
Oops.
I'll probably just rest on Monday and just do your shit, do FRC on Tuesday.
All right, man. Well, just hit me up and let me know.
All right, bro. I'll see you.
Cool. Take it easy.
Peace.